Hello everyone. Let's go back in time a few decades ago to 1916, the First World War. John Adams is a British Army infantry soldier who fights in the battle and has seen some of his good friends killed in front of his eyes. John experienced post-traumatic symptoms which made him stay in the trench and not attack despite of his commander orders. At that time, he probably would have been treated as coward and shirker. He even could face a court-martial and subsequently be executed. In the history of that war, executions on similar grounds have even been documented. Anthony Babington, a British judge and historian, has researched the topic of executions in the British Army in the First World War. In his book, For the Sake of Example, he wrote, "On reading the evidence, I became convinced that some of the men that were executed suffered from shell shock. Fortunately, the situation regarding our attitude to mental trauma and other mental health reactions to atrocities has changed." I am Dr. Zohar Rubinstein, a clinical psychologist and an expert in trauma and resilience. I have been practicing and researching this field for almost 30 years, both on individual, community, and national level. It is critical to understand the importance of mental health issues in emergency and how we can build resilience ability to cope with those situations. Mental health reaction may occur both among individuals and groups, such as communities, cities, or countries. So how do we define mental or psychic trauma? Trauma, a word derived from the Greek language for wound, can be described as a subjective experience of an individual who witnessed or experienced an overwhelming life-threatening event. This may leave a lasting effect on memories, thoughts, behaviors, and functioning. It has already been established that the more severe disaster situations associated with killing, injury, and destruction, the higher the chance of mental health issues to occur, and the greater the severity of those issues. There are many generators of disaster events that could elicit mental health issues. They are divided into two categories: natural or human-made origins. Two examples of past emergency events can simplify the concept. The first could be taken from the Tokyo subway sarin attack on March 20, 1995. A Japanese terror group that belonged to the cult movement Shinrokyo placed installations of sarin in several places at the Tokyo subway. Sarin is a lethal nerve gas which has been used as an unconventional warfare. It is banned by the 1997 treaty on the prohibition of the development, production, and use of chemical weapons. The result of this attack was 12 dead, 54 severely injured, 984 mildly injured, and about 5,300 afflicted with post-traumatic stress disorder. That is a ratio of 1 to 38, namely, for each physical casualty dead or injured, there might be about 38 mental health casualties. That's an alarming ratio. Another example of such alarming ratio comes from the 9/11 attacks in 2001. This event encompassed a series of 4 coordinated terror attacks by the Islamic group Al-Qaeda in the United States on the morning of Tuesday, September 11, 2001. The toll was very high, resulting in 2,996 dead, more than 6,000 injured, an enormous rate of PTSD casualties in New York and its surroundings. It amounted to a ratio of 1 to 47. These two examples reflect that the prevalence of mental health reactions is considerably higher than physical injuries. For this purpose, we need to understand the concept of mental health referential scenario. Referential scenario describes a thought process aimed at evaluating possible prospective threats, for example, a disaster or a terror attack, and their implications on mental health reactions among the populations. We also need to evaluate the sources available for the response. Its formulation is based on accumulative evidence gathered from past experience. Another method is applying the extrapolation of quantities. A significant result that the mental health referential scenario provides us is the potential estimation of the ratio between physical and mental health casualties. We can then estimate the scope of resources that should be invested by municipal or federal levels in the given scenario. Understanding the referential scenario facilitates the process of developing the emergency preparedness. However, the question remains as how to appropriately respond to mental health challenges during the emergency and in the post-rehabilitation period. To that end, there are models and approaches for developing resilience in individuals and communities. Some of them were examined in real-time emergencies and proved to be effective and critical for facing such challenges.